The following was recorded on April 28th, 2025. Please keep in mind laws, guidelines, and processes may change over time. This is the Italian Citizenship Podcast, hosted by Marco Permunian and Rafael Di Furia. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Italian Citizenship Podcast, presented by Italiancitizenship.com. Of course, we are back at it again with Italian attorney Marco Permunian, and I am Rafael Di Furia. And in this episode, we wanted to talk about some of the proposals that have been made from the Italian left in regards to the emergency decree that was recently put out. So Marco, just to jump straight into things, I think it might be worthwhile to talk a little bit about what this proposal is, and then also that it seems as though there are kind of two categories of individuals that it refers to. So could you tell us a little bit more about that first?
First of all, we are going to be talking about the proposed amendments. So this is part of the ongoing discussion in the Parliament regarding the proposed amendments to the emergency decree from March the 28th. We have said this in other episodes that the normal course of action is now to either convert the emergency decree from March the 28th into law without amending it in any way, or more likely to convert the decree with amendments. So in this episode, we're going to be discussing about the proposed amendments that have been made regarding change that some members of the Parliament want to make to the text of the decree, which was issued on March the 28th. And of course, before we talk about these amendments in detail, let me say that it's also possible that the decree will not be converted into law, so that this decree will actually lose any effects that it had retroactively. So in the case in which the decree will not be converted into a law, all of the legal effects that the decree had since March the 28th will vanish retroactively. But regarding what you just mentioned, so the two categories of people that the amendments referred to. The first category is, of course, people who are seeking Italian citizenship by descent. And the second category is the minor children of people who either got citizenship by descent or who qualify for citizenship by descent. Regarding individuals who are seeking citizenship by descent, one of the changes that has been proposed by some members of the Parliament is that the new rules go into effect from January 1st of 2026. So that is one of the alternatives that has been proposed as in the form of an amendment to the text of the decree. And the second alternative is that the old rules still apply for the next 2 years. So only starting from 2 years from when the decree came into effect, the new rules will basically go into effect. Like we said, we just need to remember that these are proposed amendments to the text of the decree. So it doesn't mean that they will be approved. It doesn't mean that they will be taken into consideration. There could be other amendments. So we're just here talking about what we saw for now and what are the proposed amendments that have been made so far. But there could be even more alternatives to these amendments that we're describing. So far we have seen these two alternatives regarding when the rules will go into effect, meaning one of the alternatives that has been proposed is that the rules will go into effect 2 years from now, the new rules, or that the new rules will go into effect from January the 1st of 2026. But it doesn't mean that there could be another scenario that we are not taking into consideration because those proposed amendments have not yet been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting with how this is all going, because even within these proposals that we're seeing being made now is that it's a very fluid situation, and that there are a lot of things that are moving as time goes on. And then even also just as another clarification that within this episode, we're not going to be going into every single one of these proposals that have been made, because there's a lot of complications there. And then even within how they're written, I mean, I think, Marco, would it be fair to say that they're not necessarily written in the best or most clear way?
Of course, and sometimes I've seen in these documents that the same proposed amendments are made maybe twice with a slight variation. So, of course, it could be that one of those is taken into consideration or none of those. So again, it's all speculations right now as to which amendments will be taken into consideration. So I think it's important to describe the most important amendments that will affect the eligibility rules for people going forward. But again, like you said, we cannot focus on every single proposed amendment because there are so many variations of these different amendments that are being proposed that basically describe slightly different scenarios that maybe won't even be taken into consideration. So again, we need to focus on the most important major amendments that the parliament is trying to make to this decree that was created on March the 28th.
With how complicated all of this is, I think it's definitely the right way to maybe not deep dive into everything. But Marco, maybe just on the topic that you've already discussed so far about potentially the date getting moved up to kind of allow for a window of time for people to be able to make applications, or even the potential of that not happening at all. Regardless, has there been any discussion of maybe grandfathering people in for those people who've already made some type of action of interest or made an application already to be able to move forward with getting Italian citizenship in any way? Has that been discussed at all?
Yes, one of the first proposals was regarding people who applied, so made an application prior to March the 28th. And the text of the decree is very specific. It says that only those people who have presented their applications with all of the necessary documentation prior to March 28 can use the old rules. But now one of the proposals is to change that to allow people to qualify by using the old rules, even if they didn't have all the necessary documents, but they had presented their applications prior to March the 28th. Another proposal is to allow people who have requested an appointment with a consular office or a municipal office prior to March the 28th to be able to use the old qualification rules. So again, it seems like what they're proposing is that if you have requested an appointment, so if you booked an appointment which is scheduled for the future for after March the 28th, but you scheduled the appointment prior to March the 28th with a consular office or with an Italian comune, or if, for example, you were in a waiting list that the consulate allowed you to register for you to wait to be called by the consulate for an appointment. So in those situations, it seems like one of the proposals is to allow both of these categories of people to be able to use the old qualification rules. Another proposal is to allow individuals who had presented their applications prior to March the 28th with all of the necessary documents, so only those applications that were presented with all of the necessary documentation, so not incomplete documentation, to allow the eligibility rules that were in effect prior to October the 3rd of 2024. So prior to the issuance of the circolare or memo from the Ministry of Interior regarding the minor age issue. And also there is one more proposal that is worth talking about, which is regarding individuals who are seeking Italian citizenship by descent through a great grandparent. According to this proposal, it would be allowed for these people to use a great grandparent to claim Italian citizenship by descent, but it would be necessary to pass a language test, and the level required would be B1, so lower intermediate.
Well, Marco, thank you so much for talking to us about what it would be for those who are applying for Italian citizenship as an adult. But you also mentioned at the beginning of the episode that there's another category for those who would be minors applying for those who've gotten their Italian citizenship by descent. Within the current proposals, what are the current discussions that are going on for those who might be getting citizenship through their parents as a minor?
The March 28 decree was very much limiting the rights of the minor children of people who gained Italian citizenship by descent by using the second generation already, because those minor children, according to the decree from March 28, would have been able to get Italian citizenship only if their parent was residing in Italy for 2 years prior to their birth, or if the child itself was born in Italy. Now, several proposals have been made to change that specific aspect of the decree and to allow more flexible rules regarding minors who can get Italian citizenship based on an application or registration request made by the parent. And I think the most important amendment that is being proposed is that it would be simply necessary going forward for somebody to be an Italian citizen. So even if not born in Italy, but just the fact that the person is an Italian citizen, for this person to be able to register the birth of their minor child. So it would be simply necessary to be an Italian citizen residing abroad to be able to register the birth of your own child in Italy and for the child to become an Italian citizen. And finally, 2 other proposals were made regarding the ability of an Italian parent to register their child in Italy. And according to the first proposal, the registration is only possible if the child is under 2 years old. So if the registration is made within 24 months from the birth of the child. And finally, there is a variation of this ability to register the birth of the child, which according to this last variation needs to happen prior to the child turning 18. So it's possible for an Italian parent to register the birth of their child, but the child needs to be under the age of 18.
Well, Marco, thank you so much for taking the time to get into this episode and to discuss with us what some of these proposals are looking like. Of course, we haven't been able to get into all of the proposals in this episode and just wanted to cover some of the most important ones and some of the ones that may have the most discussion around them. But also, again, please do keep in mind that some of these proposals may go through, or maybe none of these proposals might end up going through. And there is also the possibility that the decree may not be turned into law at this time, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, as I have over the last few weeks, that there is a fluid situation and that things can be changing a lot at this moment in time. But Marco, of course, if anybody is needing help to get their Italian citizenship or needing assistance during this time, how can they get in contact with you and your team?
People can contact us through our website, italiancitizenshipassistance.com, or send us an email at info@italiancitizenshipassistance.com.
Well, thank you so much, Marco, for taking the time again to make yourself available for this episode. Of course, if any of you who are watching and or listening to this episode are interested in more, be sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel as well as the audio-only podcast. But of course, if you're subscribed to this YouTube channel, that does mean that you're also automatically subscribed to episodes of Ask the Italian Lawyer, where we have been going into more around this topic as well as others, as well as the Italian Real Estate Podcast. But of course, we have been here again with Italian attorney Marco Permunian. I'm Rafael Di Furia. Stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.